I met Art when he was involved with uh, All Saints Episcopal Church in Palo Alto, and I basically had a very deep understanding of his work because we worked together individually as well as with a group. And in particular, I got affected probably in three categories of how uh, utilize that in my life. Yeah, the one that was connected to All Saints or to my church experience was what he would call contemplative prayer. And he actually introduced what was called a breath prayer, where you could connect with your breathing using a phrase inside of your head and become, well, basically it was a type of a meditation, but I found I could use that even when I was in a difficult conversation. I could um, generate a pronoun rather than I in Christ, Christ in me. I might say we in Christ, Christ in us. And when I breathed in and breathed out for about four times, no one knew I was in this discussion of contemplation or connection. And I would find that there would be remarkable differences in the dialogue, especially if I were in a dialogue where I was negotiating with someone, or perhaps they were losing their job. I was involved in that discussion with them, some major life change. It would I would find a person stop being competitive and defensive and anxiety produced, and more with me in the meeting. So I use that regularly as a in my toolbox in helping my presence when I was having these difficult discussions with individuals. So that was more of a contemplative prayer and application. Uh, Secondly, I found I've been my work was involved with organizations over 30 years. I was in human resources and organizational development for three major companies in Silicon Valley, and I got involved in a lot of conflict resolution. And I would help individuals to to look at the conversation they're having with the either their boss or with the area of conflict a little differently. And I would use some of Art's teachings where we talked about our hopes and our fears, and I would uh, when they got together with the individual, I would ask them to take responsibility for what they're saying rather than being active at making the other person wrong. And that seemed to be very effective. And I think another area that I can recall is in my consulting practice. I've actually worked with scientists and engineers in major strategy meetings as well as organizational optimization meetings where their group was very diverse and had variety of points of view that were both self-serving as well as what they thought was the right way to go, even though they may be orthogonal with other parts of the group. And by using Art's method of discernment or decision making, um, I found that a lot of organizations don't want to take the time to do that level of decision making, and that's a mistake, because this level of time where you're actually looking at the pros and cons of why to do various options or why to choose various options, it allows individuals to listen to each other quite openly. And I'm not sure that happens organically and naturally. So I'll give you one particular example. There's an organization called the Critical Path Institute in Tucson where I helped the CEO with a difficult decision around what kind of organization should we do and should we create. And through a couple day meeting with the whole senior group, we discussed this in general parts, and we came up with two options. And those options didn't just pop out. They were a product of a large meeting with a lot of discussion and a lot of input. And when we got to the point of making a decision, I asked them to do a process which came right out of Art's thinking, where they looked at what reasons not to do option A, and then reasons to do option A, reasons not to do option B, and reasons to do option B. And basically, the process includes everyone having an opportunity to give their reasons until it's exhausted. And while that can produce impatience in some who are impatient and want to get on with things, it allows that process to literally uncover every thought and every input from each of the participants. So it has an outcome for all of the participants to feel included in this decision. There's a bonding of I'm involved in this decision, and I didn't get railroaded. And there's also, to the people who are fast thinkers and verbalizing their thoughts, it allows them to actually hear and listen to various points of view that they might not have taken the time to listen to. And as a result, they are all in ownership of the fact that these two options exist on the table. And in this particular meeting, we made it very clear that the CEO was going to make the decision, and they bought into that very, very clearly. And it created the basis of an organization that it still exists today, 6 years later. And I personally have been involved with this company for the whole time, as in many transitions. So it's been a very positive outcome for the Critical Path Institute. I have a strong recall of the experience with Art. I don't have a recall of the details, however, but I do think it had a huge impact on me as a young adult. I mean, I worked with Art in this process, which I could not reproduce. I mean, I was totally into the process I was at the effect of it. I wasn't that much aware of what was happening, but we were in a quiet place. We were talking, but it had a major impact on a memory that I revealed that happened when I was probably 15. And I think the main effect I have is that I appreciate that I did it with Art. It was so elegantly simple and non-threatening, and completely the space was open for it to be a good experience. And that's what happened. So I wouldn't say I had a revolutionary experience, but that memory no longer had the silent impact that it did. It came out into the open, and we brought a religious aspect to it, which allowed it to just be subdued at its effect, essentially. So I give Art a lot of credit for those times we were together in our discussions one-on-one, for having a positive effect on that memory, as well as other aspects of our lives.